So this is the next product, which is our new lighting controller. We're really pleased to be launching this at PLASA this year. It's got the same advanced playback engine as our existing lighting controllers, the same conditional show control engine, and it's compatible with all our remote devices, of which the Rios belong to that family. So it's got a vast array of integration options. But unlike any other architectural lighting controller on the market, it also has an integrated, capacitive, customizable 4.3-inch touchscreen built in. So this is it. This is a lighting controller and a touchscreen. A lot of people don't get that at first. They think it is, a touchscreen, and then there's going to be another server somewhere for the lighting control. But this really is it. If I can just pass that round to you.
So it's essentially an LPC1.
Exactly. So it can output up to 512 channels of EDMX, and by one universe, yes. And by EDMX, I mean protocols like ArtNet, Philips Color Kinetics Connect, streaming ACN, and Passport. And it's designed to wall mount in a UK 2-gang backbox. And because it's power over Ethernet and its output is entirely over EDMX, this means it only has one connector on it and only requires one cable to install. And that's a Cat5 cable, which electricians are very familiar with. And so all you have to run to your back boxes is one Cat5 cable to install it. You don't need to run a separate DC supply. You're not running in DMX cables, just the Cat5. I should probably say a little bit more about the advanced playback and show control engines that I keep referring to. The playback engine is not, our controllers are not frame store devices, so they generate their content in real time in response to triggers from either internal triggers like the real-time clock or the astronomical clock, or external triggers. And the most obvious source of an external trigger for the touch panel controller is, of course, its screen. And then in response to these triggers, they can immediately, on demand, transition between scenes, sequences, pixel-mapped media, or generated algorithmic effects like Perlin noise or 2D colors or transparency. The controller is programmed in the Pharos designer software, just like our other controllers, and the user interfaces are programmed in a new software application that we've written, Pharos Interface Editor, which, like Designer, is free to download from our website. In Interface Editor, you create and organize multiple pages of controls, and the controls are buttons, sliders, color pickers, keypads, and then you can change the appearance of these controls using the built-in themes, or just create your own theme for whatever you need. Then all these controls in Designer become triggers for lighting events and changes to the state of the system. So lighting events, signals coming from third-party systems, as I mentioned with the Rio Dali, those can all be fed back to the touch panel and used to change the appearance or maybe the level of sliders or the color that a color picker is showing, to show feedback for what the system's doing. You can have multiple TPCs in an installation. I should say the full name is the touch panel controller. That's what TPC stands for. You can have multiple TPCs in an installation, and they all work together, but then you get a choice. You can either have the TPC just control the lights locally in its room, or you can make it control the global system, because it will communicate with the other touch panel controllers and tell them, oh, this button's been pressed. That means we're going to a generally low state because the building's been locked up at night, so all rooms should go to a low state. And similarly, the feedback on each touch panel controller can show something to do with the local state or something to do with the system state. It's got various sensors built into the front. If I could just borrow it back a second. Another innovative feature of the unit is the magnetic overlay. So there are no physical buttons exposed to the user, but the service engineer with a sharp knife can just peel back the magnetic overlay, and there you have access to the reset and configuration button to bring up onboard configuration, and the sensors are exposed there as well. Just put that back. Thanks. So the sensors on board are an ambient light sensor for daylight harvesting, a proximity sensor, temperature sensor, and a learning IR sensor. The learning IR sensor means you can associate any infrared remote control with the touch panel and make buttons on that remote control mimic button pushes or moving a slider up and down. It's got a built-in web server for remote management, so you can pull up a standard set of web pages or create your own custom web interface. And because you can create web apps for iPads, that therefore means it works with iPhones and iPads right out of the box. You just create any custom web app and that'll be served to the iPad or iPhone, and then you can tailor your interface on your remote touchscreen to be exactly the same as what's on the screen. I've already mentioned that it's compatible with our Rios, and therefore it's also compatible with the new Rio D, Rio DALI. So as well as being a DMX controller, it can indirectly control DALI as well. And like the LPCs, it supports up to 16 Rio Ds. So it's got quite a high capacity. It works seamlessly with our other controllers too. So if you have a large installation, like I mentioned the Moscow Vegas Mall earlier, that required hundreds of thousands of channels, but this would be a great user interface because of course it works with the LPCX, just like any other controller from Pharos would. We've been absolutely astounded by the response from our customers to this product, although of course everyone expects all these features to come at a price. But we're really pleased to be able to say that it's priced competitively with other manufacturers' touchscreen products. Except of course, it's not just the touchscreen. The touch panel controller is the complete lighting control solution. That is all you need. Does anyone have any questions?
What is the price?
£11.95 is the list price.
How much?
£1195.
Is there a reason you went for RJ45 on there rather than Phoenix, given the amount of space you normally have in a double gang back box? Are they incompetence of most electricians to terminate an RJ45?
Well, interestingly, we've also made a custom back box for the US market, which has an Ethernet punch-down connector. So that's another, we sell the two products together for the US. In the UK, our experience is that, for example, the button panel stations and the remote devices have been running off a single Cat5 connection, and we've had, we haven't. Yes. Yeah, so these are power over Ethernet, one cable. Those are power over Ethernet, one cable install. So it follows the same philosophy. And we've had these for three years now, 3 or 4 years, and we haven't had any problems with termination. So that kind of brought us to here. But yeah, with the feedback from our US customers has been that you've got to have a punch down connector on there, and so that's what we've done in their back box. Thank you.
So to interface that with Rio D is just RJ or Cat5 cable. There's no switches or routers or anything. That must be something to provide power over Ethernet.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, interestingly, you can do it. It is possible to have a Rio D, a Cat5 cable, a power over Ethernet injector to give the power to this and to the Rio D. And because this has the auto sensing on its connector, whether it's a crossover or not, it will work with just one cable. Obviously, we'd recommend you use a switch, and we do sell a power over Ethernet switch as well, but equally, they're available from many shops. Because when you're doing the designer configuration, you want to be able to, come in, see what's going on, upload, and also with the remote management, you'd want to have a port on the switch for accessing the web interface, and it works with our installation manager software too, which lets you upload new show files and content over the internet.
So to configure that, you just take it off the wall, plug your laptop into it, configure it.
Yes, or more usual would be to have it on a network, because
So
it's...
you have a port on the network you can jack into.
Exactly, yes. So that computer there on our stand can talk to it over the wired network, but we also have a wireless network in the stand, so all our computers can talk to these devices via Wi-Fi, which is how the iPads are getting the web interface out of the controllers. Shall I press the button on here? There we are. So I can I trigger this now, or am I stuck in no I think I might be stuck in the presentation mode. We've put this into a mode which means it shuts up for a bit while we do the presentation, and now I can't get it out of it without the web interface. But oh, it also has security, so you can lock it. You can lock the touchscreen, so it comes up with a keypad with a code, and it is possible to set up multiple user codes to unlock it. So yeah.
So if you've got multiple room installations, you say that's the lighting controller, but I assume it can also act as a slave if you have multiple room.
Absolutely, yes. Our systems work by having one controller as a time server. That keeps the real-time clock, but otherwise they all just communicate with each other. So you press a button on this one, if I press a button on this one, then the touch panel controller on the plinth over there gets a signal, as do all the other controllers on this wall. So I can trigger video on these screens from triggers on this touch panel controller, triggers on that touch panel controller, and it's all programmed in one show file in Designer. So they're all running the same timelines, but only certain controllers will have programming when that timeline's running. So they'll all report, we're running timeline 5, but many of them won't be doing anything. But perhaps this AVC has some content. We also make an audio-visual controller, just expanding on the product range. This AVC has some media content. The LPCX might have some lighting content for the roof, but perhaps the controller doing the moving LED lights around the stand isn't doing anything at that time, so that's doing another timeline lower down. And that's where our programming interface is really quite advanced, because you've got these multiple layers of timelines all acting independently. And so although this controller might be running a timeline and all the other controllers are running it, but on that timeline there's only programming for one room in an installation, happens to be the room that touch panel controller's in, but the whole system knows what's going on everywhere. Hopefully that makes sense.
Did you say they can run iPhone apps?
Because they have a built-in web interface, you can serve a web app, and when you see that in Safari, on mobile Safari, on the iPad, if Safari sees a web app coming in, then the title bar goes out the way. You can save it to your desktop just like you would another app and open it. It's kind of in the same vein as I think the Financial Times recently pulled out of the iTunes store because they were fed up with Apple's charging for subscription content, and they wanted to go their own way. So they produced a web app, I think, might be wrong on this, and so people see it in their browser instead of through a native app running on the device. And that's the same approach we've done here, to allow people to, because people want to write their own interface for their own installation. You want to have corporate branding on there. So there's no point us producing an app that is rigid. People just want the flexibility to write a website and then have it run on an iPad.